There comes a time in life when you have to stop apologizing for choosing yourself. There comes a time when you must realize that your peace is more valuable than their approval. Your growth is more important than their comfort. Purpose is bigger than their opinions. You cannot continue to empty yourself into people who only take and never pour back. You cannot continue to break yourself in pieces just so others can feel whole. You cannot continue to set yourself on fire to keep people warm who would leave you cold in the night. Putting yourself first does not mean you are selfish. It means you are wise enough to understand that you cannot pour from an empty cup. It means you are strong enough to set boundaries that protect your soul. It means you are courageous enough to say, I matter too. For too long, you've been stretching yourself thin, trying to hold everyone else together. Here is the truth. You were never designed to be everybody's savior. You were never created to carry the weight of the whole world. Even love requires balance. Even giving requires refilling. So today, I dare you to put yourself first. Protect your mind. Guard your heart. Nurture your spirit. When you are whole, when you are strong, when you are at peace, then and only then can you truly show up for others in power and purpose. Stop apologizing for saying no. Stop feeling guilty for needing rest. Stop explaining why you can't do what drains your soul. Your destiny depends on you being healthy, not just in body, but in mind and spirit. The world doesn't need a version of you that is exhausted, broken, and bitter. The world needs you alive, refreshed, empowered, and focused. So put yourself first, not because you don't care about others, because you finally care enough about yourself. There is nothing more precious than your peace. Your peace is the foundation of your strength, oxygen of your soul, the quiet space where your purpose breathes and your destiny takes shape. Without peace, even the greatest blessings feel like burdens. Without peace, you can be surrounded by people yet feel utterly alone. Without peace, life turns into a battle where your joy is constantly under attack. That is why protecting your peace is not optional, it is essential. Too many people lose themselves trying to keep everyone else happy. Too many spend their days fixing broken pieces of others while silently falling apart on the inside. Too many confuse love with self-neglect, thinking that if they just keep giving, eventually someone will pour back into them. But hear this, you cannot walk in your calling if your spirit is exhausted. You cannot run your race if your soul is bleeding. And you cannot fulfill your destiny if your peace is constantly being stolen. There comes a point when you must stop letting chaos rent space in your heart. There comes a point when you must silence the noise of opinions, negativity, and drama. There comes a point when you must take back the keys to your inner sanctuary and decide who gets access and who does not. Protecting your peace means understanding that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. It means recognizing that not every battle is yours to fight. Not every invitation deserves your attendance, and not every problem requires your solution. Some of the heaviest weights in your life are not physical, they are emotional. They come disguised as relationships that drain you, conversations that belittle you, and environments that suffocate you. And if you are not careful, you will allow those weights to chain you down, leaving you weary, restless, and far from the joy you were meant to carry. Protecting your peace means knowing when to let go. It means having the courage to walk away from what no longer serves your spirit, no matter how familiar it feels. You have to stop letting everyone dump their problems on you as if you are a landfill for their chaos. You can listen, you can care, you can pray, but you cannot allow their storm to drown your spirit. Protecting your peace requires boundaries, clear lines that say, this is where I end, this is where you begin. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are fences that protect the garden of your soul from being trampled. And yes, some people will not like it when you protect your peace. They will call you selfish. They will accuse you of changing. They will guilt trip you for not being available on their terms. But understand this, people who truly value you will celebrate your wholeness, not resent it. Those who love you will understand that a healthier you means a stronger you, and a stronger you means you can give more from a place of abundance instead of depletion. Protecting your peace also means guarding your mind. You cannot feed on negativity every day and expect to live in joy. You cannot scroll endlessly through comparison and wonder why you feel inadequate. You cannot surround yourself with gossip and wonder why your spirit feels heavy. The mind is the battlefield. Peace begins with what you allow to enter your thoughts. You must learn to shut the doors of your soul to toxic words, unworthy distractions, destructive voices, and do not overlook the power of silence. Sometimes protecting your peace is not about what you say, it's about what you choose not to respond to. You don't have to answer every critic. You don't have to fight every fight. You don't have to justify your decisions to those who were never meant to understand your calling. Silence can be the loudest declaration of your strength. Protecting your peace also means resting without guilt. You are not created to run endlessly until you collapse. Rest is not laziness, it is preparation. It is in moments of stillness that your soul heals, your mind clears, and your spirit realigns. Some breakthroughs only come when you pause long enough to hear the whisper of wisdom within you. When you protect your peace, you give yourself permission to live fully. You rediscover joy in small things. You wake up with gratitude instead of dread. You become more present, more intentional, more alive. Protecting your peace does not mean life will be perfect. It means that no matter the storm, you have built an anchor within that cannot be shaken. So guard your heart. Watch over your spirit. Be discerning about who you let close and what you let consume your energy. Stop sacrificing your well-being to keep the peace with others while destroying the peace within yourself. Choose environments that nourish you, people who inspire you, and conversations that lift you. Your peace is your power. Your peace is your inheritance. Your peace is your responsibility. No one else can protect it for you. If you don't value it, the world will trample it. If you don't fight for it, life will steal it. When you make the decision to protect your peace, you step into a new level of strength, focus, and freedom. Build your boundaries, guard your joy, and silence the noise. Protect your peace like the priceless treasure it is. Because once you have peace, you have clarity, you have strength, you have the foundation to pursue everything you were created to be. There comes a time in life when you must realize that your energy, your time, and your spirit are not endless. You are not a machine. You are not designed to carry the world on your shoulders without pause. You are a living soul, with needs, with emotions, with a purpose, and in order to protect that purpose, you must learn the sacred art of boundaries. But here is the struggle. So many of us feel guilty for saying no. We feel ashamed for choosing ourselves. We feel like if we are not always available, always accommodating, always giving, then we are somehow failing in love, failing in kindness, failing in faith. Yet the truth is this: life without boundaries is a life that quickly becomes empty, exhausted, and enslaved to the demands of others. Boundaries are not selfish. Boundaries are survival. Boundaries are the lines you draw to protect your soul from being drained by people who take but never give, situations that exhaust but never refill, and by environments that deplete but never build. Without boundaries, your peace will be stolen, your joy will be trampled, and your identity will be buried under the weight of expectations you were never meant to carry. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when your heart was screaming now? How many times have you agreed to help someone while your own life was falling apart? How many times have you answered calls, responded to messages, or shown up for people who would not do the same for you? That is not love. That is self-abandonment. And every time you abandon yourself to please others, you teach them that your needs are optional, your feelings are negotiable, and your worth can be compromised. But the moment you set boundaries, you begin to rewrite the rules. You begin to say, my time matters, my energy matters, my voice matters, my peace matters. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about keeping yourself whole. They are about recognizing that your well-being cannot be sacrificed for approval, applause, or acceptance. Do not be surprised when people resist your boundaries. Some will push back, not because your boundaries are wrong, because they benefited from your lack of them. Some will call you distant, selfish, or unkind. Some will remind you of all the times you used to be there. But here is the truth. If someone cannot respect your boundaries, they do not respect you. True love celebrates your wholeness, not your brokenness. Real friends understand your no as much as they embrace your yes. Setting boundaries without guilt requires courage. It means refusing to explain your choices to those who will never understand your calling. It means letting your no stand without a 10-minute apology attached to it. It means realizing that every time you honor your limits, you honor the God-given worth inside of you. And sometimes boundaries are not just with people, they are with habits, with distractions, with your own inner critic. You must set boundaries with overthinking that keeps you paralyzed, with guilt that chains you to the past, self-doubt that convinces you that you owe everyone your life except yourself. Boundaries are not just about controlling what comes in from the outside. They are also about silencing what tries to sabotage you from within. You cannot fulfill your destiny if you are constantly drained. You cannot step into your calling if you are always running on empty. You cannot hear the whisper of divine guidance if your life is filled with the noise of everyone else's demands. Boundaries create the margin where clarity can enter. Boundaries create the space where healing can flow. Boundaries create the room where your soul can breathe. Yet guilt will try to creep in, that little voice that says, you should be doing more. That whisper that says, they'll be upset if you don't show up. That pressure that tells you, if you don't fix it, no one else will. But here's the truth. Guilt is often a sign that you are breaking old patterns of people pleasing. Guilt is often the echo of your past self, the one who said yes to everything and lost themselves in the process. The presence of guilt does not mean you are wrong. It means you are growing. When you stop over-explaining, when you let your boundaries stand, you begin to reclaim your life. You discover strength you never knew you had. You realize that your worth was never tied to how much you could endure, but how much you could preserve the sacred treasure of your soul. You stop being pulled in every direction and start walking in your own. You must understand boundaries are not rejection. Boundaries are protection. They protect your time so you can invest in your growth. They protect your heart so you can love from a place of fullness. They protect your mind so you can focus on what matters most. They protect your spirit so you can walk in purpose without being distracted by demands that were never your assignment. When you honor your limits, you actually have more to give. Because when you are rested, when you are whole, when you are strong, you can show up with authenticity instead of resentment. You can give with joy instead of exhaustion. You can serve with clarity instead of confusion. Boundaries do not make you less loving. They make your love pure. Do not be afraid to draw the line. Do not be afraid to say, this is enough. Do not be afraid to protect the treasure that is your peace, your energy, and your life. Because the truth is, if you do not set your boundaries, life will set them for you. Through burnout, through brokenness, through a body and mind that can no longer carry the load. You are not here to be everything for everyone. You are here to be the best version of yourself, and that requires boundaries. So stop apologizing for saying no. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into the expectations of others. Stop explaining why you cannot be everywhere, do everything, or carry everyone. Stand firm. Protect your soul. Set your boundaries without guilt. Because when you do, you step into the kind of freedom that allows you to live fully, love deeply, and walk boldly in the purpose you were created for. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot love from an empty heart. You cannot guide from an empty mind. And you cannot serve from an empty soul. And yet, so many people live their lives constantly pouring, constantly giving, constantly stretching themselves thin until there is nothing left but exhaustion, bitterness, and quiet resentment. You were not created to live burned out. You were not designed to keep running on fumes. You were not called to pour into everyone else while silently bleeding out your own strength. At some point, you must pause, step back, and recognize this truth. You cannot keep pouring from an empty cup. Think about it. A cup has only one purpose: to hold something so that it can be poured out. But if that cup is empty, if it is cracked, if it is never refilled, then pouring becomes impossible. The same is true for your life. You were designed to give, yes. You were also designed to be filled. You were created to bless others, but you must also be replenished. Without being refilled, your giving loses its joy, your service loses its strength, and your love loses its light. Too many of us confuse selflessness with self-destruction. We think being a good person means saying yes to everything, carrying everyone, fixing every problem, and solving every crisis. But here's the truth. Constantly pouring when you are empty doesn't make you a hero, it makes you a hostage to guilt, to pressure, to people pleasing, to expectations you were never meant to carry. And the tragedy is that when you are running on empty, even your best intentions turn sour. You begin to resent the very people you wanted to help. You begin to dread the very tasks you once loved. You begin to lose yourself in the process of keeping everyone else afloat. This is not love. This is not purpose. This is not destiny. This is depletion, and you were not created for depletion. It is not selfish to refill your cup. It is survival. It is wisdom. It is stewardship of the life you've been given. You cannot lead your family if you are drained. You cannot build your dreams if you are empty. You cannot show up fully in relationships if your soul is weary. To pour effectively, you must first be filled intentionally. How do you refill? You refill by creating space for rest. You refill by surrounding yourself with people who pour back into you instead of just taking. You refill by feeding your spirit with positivity, prayer, reflection, or whatever fuels your soul. You refill by stepping away from environments that drain you and stepping into environments that inspire you. You refill by choosing yourself sometimes unapologetically, without guilt. But here's the challenge. So many of us feel guilty for pausing. We feel guilty for resting. We feel guilty for not answering every call, not attending every event, not meeting every demand. We think if we are not constantly available, we are failing others. Yet the truth is this: if you don't stop to refill, you will have nothing left to give at all. It is far better to take a moment to refill your cup than to collapse from burnout. It is far wiser to step back and regain your strength than to keep pushing until you break. Because once you are broken, once your cup is cracked, pouring becomes impossible no matter how much you want to. When you refill yourself, your giving becomes richer. When you rest, you show up with more energy. Heal, you show up with more compassion. When you grow, you show up with more wisdom. A full cup gives freely and joyfully. An empty cup gives reluctantly and resentfully. Which do you want to be? You must learn the sacred balance of giving and receiving. Even rivers have a source. Even the sun rests at night. Even your heart pauses between beats. Life itself is designed with rhythm, with ebb and flow, with seasons of pouring and seasons of filling. If you try to live in constant output, you will rob yourself of the very strength needed to continue. Stop letting people convince you that pausing is weakness. Stop letting guilt whisper that choosing yourself is selfish. Stop letting fear make you believe that everything will fall apart if you step back for a moment. The world will keep turning, life will keep moving, people will adapt, but if you collapse, if you burn out, if you break down, the cost will be far greater. The truth is, when your cup overflows, you don't even have to force yourself to give. It happens naturally. When you are full, your joy spills into others. Your strength becomes contagious. Your peace influences the atmosphere around you. Your love shines without effort. That is the kind of giving that changes lives, not drained, tired, bitter giving, but abundant, overflowing, joyful giving. It is not selfish to refill. It is not weakness to rest. It is not wrong to say, I need time. You are not less valuable when you pause. You are not less loving when you protect your energy. You are not less committed when you set limits. You are wise. You are strong. You are honoring the design of life itself. Today, make the decision to stop pouring from an empty cup. Create the space you need. Seek the renewal you deserve. Let go of guilt and embrace balance. And when you do, you will find yourself living not in depletion, in abundance, not in exhaustion, but in joy, not in emptiness, but in the fullness of who you were always meant to be. There is a moment in every life when the world will try to tell you that you are not enough. It comes through rejection, through betrayal, through failure, through people who overlook you, through situations that make you question who you are. And if you are not careful, You will start believing the lie that your value depends on who accepts you, who applauds you, or who approves of you. But I came to remind you today, your worth is not up for debate. Your worth is not on sale. Your worth is not determined by how others treat you. Your worth is already established. It is unshakable. Too often we trade our value for validation. We let the silence of others make us question our voice. We let their rejection make us doubt our beauty. We let their absence make us believe we are unlovable. But hear this, you are not defined by who walked away. You are not reduced by what you lost. You are not limited by the opinions of people who could never see the greatness in you. Recognizing your worth is about remembering that you are not here by accident. You carry a uniqueness that no one else can duplicate. You carry gifts, talents, wisdom, and experiences that cannot be replaced. Even your scars tell a story of survival, a story of strength, a story that proves you are still standing when life tried to knock you down. That alone is proof of your value. The danger of not knowing your worth is that you begin to settle. You settle for relationships that drain you. You settle for jobs that demean you. You settle for environments that suffocate you. You settle for less than what you deserve because you have convinced yourself that this is all I can get. But the moment you recognize your worth, you stop settling. You stop chasing those who do not value you. You stop begging for what should already be yours. You stop lowering your standards just to fit into places you were never meant to belong. Your worth is not negotiable. It doesn't decrease when people fail to see it. It doesn't fade when life gets hard. It doesn't vanish because you made mistakes. You can lose everything, money, possessions, status, and still your worth remains the same. Because worth is not about what you have, it's about who you are. And yet, so many of us give away our worth cheaply. We trade it for temporary approval. We silence ourselves to avoid conflict. We shrink ourselves to make others comfortable. We dim our light so others don't feel insecure. But your worth is not meant to be hidden. It is meant to shine. It is meant to be lived boldly, unapologetically, fearlessly. When you recognize your worth, you stop living like a beggar at tables you were never meant to sit at. You stop waiting for people to invite you in because you realize you can build your own table. You stop crying over doors that closed because you realize your value demands a different door, a better door, divine door. Recognizing your worth requires courage because once you see your value, you can no longer tolerate certain things. You can no longer ignore disrespect. You can no longer stay in places where you are merely tolerated instead of celebrated. You can no longer keep giving discounts on who you are. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, some people will fall away. Yes, some environments will reject you. But that is not loss, it is alignment. When you know your worth, what leaves you is only making room for what truly belongs to you. Do not let your past convince you that you are worthless. Every failure taught you something. Every heartbreak shaped you. Every disappointment refined you. You may have scars, but scars do not mean you are broken. They mean you healed. You may have gone through storms, but storms do not mean you are weak. They mean you survived. Recognizing your worth means taking your story, your pain, your victories, and standing tall in the truth that none of it diminished your value. It only proved it. You do not need to beg for love. You do not need to beg for respect. You do not need to beg for opportunities. What is truly meant for you will recognize your worth and respond to it. Love will honor it. Purpose will affirm it. Destiny will embrace it. And listen, recognizing your worth is not arrogance. It is not pride. It is not looking down on others. It is simply understanding that you are not disposable. You are not ordinary. You are not replaceable. You are a masterpiece, and masterpieces are never rushed, never copied, never discounted. They are treasured, preserved, and honored. There are people who will never see your worth. That's not your problem. Do not waste your life trying to convince the blind of your beauty. Do not spend your years auditioning for people who were never meant to cast you. Do not let those who cannot afford your value convince you to lower your price. Recognizing your worth means you stop auditioning and start living. And the beautiful thing is this: when you know your worth, you inspire others to see theirs. When you walk with confidence, you give others permission to rise. When you love yourself without apology, you show others that they too can be free. Your worth is not just for you. It is a light that reminds the world what true value looks like. So today, stand tall, lift your head, stop apologizing for being who you are. Stop discounting yourself to be accepted. Stop waiting for others to tell you what you already know deep inside. Recognize your worth and live like it. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are not a mistake. You are not forgotten. You are worthy, worthy of love, worthy of respect, worthy of peace, worthy of joy, worthy of every good thing that life has to offer. The moment you truly recognize your worth is the moment your life begins to shift. You walk differently. You speak differently. You choose differently. Because once you know what you carry, you will never again let anyone treat you like you are less. There is a lie that so many of us have been taught to believe, that taking care of yourself is selfish, that resting is weakness. Slowing down means you are falling behind. We live in a world that glorifies hustle, rewards burnout, praises exhaustion as if being tired all the time is proof of greatness. But the truth is this: you cannot live your purpose if you are constantly running on empty. You cannot carry out your assignment if your body, your mind, and your soul are neglected. Self-care is not a distraction from your purpose. It is the fuel that sustains it. Purpose is demanding. It pulls on your time, your energy, your focus, your spirit. Walking in your calling will stretch you, challenge you, and require more of you than you ever thought you could give. And if you do not make self-care a priority, you will find yourself giving so much to your purpose that you have nothing left to finish the race. That is why self-care is not optional. It is sacred. It is not a luxury. It is a responsibility. Think of it this way: no matter how powerful a car is, runs out of gas, it will not move. No matter how sharp a tool is, if it is never sharpened, it will become dull. No matter how gifted you are, if you never rest, never heal, never pause, eventually you will break. Self-care is the sharpening of your soul. It is the refilling of your cup. It is the maintenance that ensures your purpose can keep moving forward without collapse. But here is the challenge: many of us equate self-care with selfishness. We think that if we stop to care for ourselves, we are neglecting others. We think that if we say no to someone else's demand, we are failing them. We think that if we take time to rest, we are wasting time. But hear me clearly: there is nothing selfish about self-preservation. There is nothing wrong with protecting your health, your peace, your joy, your time. In fact, prioritizing self-care is the most unselfish thing you can do. Because when you are strong, when you are whole, when you are refreshed, you can serve others more effectively. Self-care is not just about spa days or vacations, though those things are beautiful. True self-care is about listening to your body when it says, "I need rest." It's about listening to your soul when it says, "I need space." It's about listening to your spirit when it says, "I need quiet." It's about being honest enough to admit, "I can't carry this alone," and courageous enough to let go of what was never yours to carry. There will always be more to do. More emails, more tasks, more responsibilities, more people to check on, more needs to meet. But if you do not set boundaries and create rhythms of self-care, life will consume you. You will wake up one day tired in body, weary in mind, and numb in spirit, going through the motions, but disconnected from the joy of your purpose. That is not how you were created to live. My health matters. My peace matters. My spirit matters. My purpose matters too much for me to neglect myself. You begin to understand that rest is not wasted time. It is preparation time. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. Healing is not delay. It is progress. Because every moment you invest in caring for yourself is a deposit that strengthens your purpose. Let me tell you something: self-care also means letting go of guilt. So many people feel guilty when they rest, guilty when they say no, guilty when they step back. But guilt has no place in the life of someone who knows their worth. Taking care of yourself is not failing others. It is making sure you don't fail yourself. Because if you collapse, if you burn out, if you break, what good can you be to anyone else? Self-care is also about alignment. When you slow down, you allow yourself to reconnect with what truly matters. You begin to hear the whisper of clarity that gets drowned out in constant noise. You begin to see what is essential and what is merely distraction. You begin to walk with more intention because self-care clears the fog and sharpens your vision. Think about it. When you are exhausted, you make poor decisions. When you are drained, you miss opportunities. When you are empty, you accept things you should reject. But when you are refreshed, you think clearly. When you are rested, you respond wisely. When you are whole, you move with strength. That is the power of self-care. It doesn't just bless you, it blesses everything connected to you. Your family benefits when you are at peace. Your work benefits when your mind is clear. Your relationships benefit when your heart is whole. Your purpose benefits when your spirit is aligned. Self-care is not just for you, it is for everyone who is connected to your destiny. So stop apologizing for taking time to rest. Stop explaining why you can't always be available. Stop feeling guilty for protecting your energy. You are not failing anyone by choosing yourself. You are ensuring that you can show up in the fullness of who you are meant to be. You are your most important investment. You can lose things and regain them. You can lose opportunities and find new ones. But if you lose yourself, if you neglect yourself, if you abandon yourself, you risk losing everything. Your body is the vehicle of your purpose. Your mind is the compass of your decisions. Your spirit is the fire of your destiny. They must all be cared for or everything else collapses. So prioritize self-care. Make it a lifestyle, not an afterthought. Build it into your daily rhythm. Protect your mornings. Guard your nights. Carve out moments of stillness in your day. Surround yourself with people who add to your peace, not those who drain it. Feed your soul with words, habits, and environments that inspire growth. Purpose without self-care is unsustainable. You can push for a while, you can fight for a while, you can run for a while, but without renewal, even the strongest will fall. But purpose with self-care becomes unstoppable. You can endure longer, stand taller, shine brighter, and fulfill what you were born to do. So today, give yourself permission to rest, permission to heal, permission to breathe. Permission to say no, permission to choose you. Because when you prioritize self-care, you are not abandoning your purpose, you are strengthening it. You are making sure that the vision placed inside of you has a vessel strong enough to carry it to completion. You are worthy of care. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of love, not just from others, but from yourself. So guard your energy, protect your soul, nurture your mind, and honor your body. Do it without guilt. Do it without apology. Do it with boldness.